that sugar sweet. You got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion. Loving this devotion. Live it up, live it up, live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll. Switch it up, switch it up, switch it up where I'm going. Stay on the fly just in time, know the right way to go. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me so high, you always make the highlights. I love the way we vibe, you're like a centerfold. Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Just my kind of heat, keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Ooh, that sugar. All I want is satisfaction. Make a move, baby, you got nothing to lose. Give me that, give me that, give me that good reaction. Gonna make it right, little like an offer I can't refuse. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me so high, you always make the highlights. I love the way we vibe, you're like a centerfold. Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Just my kind of heat, keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Ooh, that sugar Ooh, that sugar Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion.
Good morning. Morning, folks. Hope you are well. Thought I'd come live public on YouTube today. I think this is what I'm going to start to do. I know I've said that before, but I think this is what I'm going to start to do from now on. Kind of enjoy it a little bit more of a community vibe. But hope you're well. Paul, how you doing, pal? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're good. How's trading been over these last months? hope it's been good. Yeah, if you're in the room, come and say hello and we'll get into the markets, shall we? Right, so news today, obviously there is nothing on the docket here. Let me just get my pen up, excuse me. There's some jobless numbers come out yesterday, worse than expected. If I go back to yesterday here, 261 over the forecasted 235. Morning, Leon. Morning, buddy. Which is putting some hope in the market on a potential Fed pause of rates next week. I do think next week is a big week. I do think this interest rate decision, we've obviously got the ECB as well, but it's a very news-heavy week next week, which is why we're seeing some, not really much movement in the markets this week. Obviously, not a lack of fundamental drivers. So, on Wednesday, I do think it's really interesting. What are we going to do? We're forecasting a pause on account of those numbers yesterday. And I think the market will like that. I think I think it's in a really, I'll go into the S&P in a second, but I think we're in a really interesting position. So let's see what happens. But today, nothing much to worry about. No events scheduled, certainly from my time here in the UAE. So nothing much to talk about there. Not great, is it? I mean, my year's been pretty poor, I have to say, but then I could say the same for last year, I was -3, I'm -5 now going into June. But the same position last year and I ended up with 44%. So hopefully I do the same thing again. I've not had a big winner at all this year. You know, I haven't had one. Normally I'm expecting 3 or 4. So, you know, on account of last year, I really had 2 big winners through the whole year. Obviously, that's where my edge comes from, right? My big winners. That's essentially how I trade. I kind of blot around doing not much, and then my big winners take me to that plus 20, which I'm always trying to gain for every year. Obviously, I'm saying you can do more than 20, obviously, but for me, my minimum is 20. So, yeah, it's been pretty poor this year, I have to say. I think I've been a little bit unlucky, but let's see how the end of the year. Let's see how the end of the year goes. Things can change so quickly in this game. You know, it was a month last year, in actually the same month, June of last year, where I got 20-something%, 21% specifically. And, you know, my year catapulted from then. So, you know, it's staying patient and staying disciplined, albeit it is tough. It is tough at times. There's no doubt about it. This year has been tough. But I always tell myself I'm in a German 30 position or German 40 position. Now that you never know when these things can flip, and your trading turns around, and you know, doing it. I just lost my chain of thought. And essentially, yeah, keeping that patience and keeping that discipline is that makes or breaks you. Because let's be honest, this is easy. And obviously, it's a bit harder for myself as a swing trader because I take less positions. Now, if you're a scalper or more intraday, then you've got a bit more trades to basically, maybe this is a bad way of saying it, but a bit more trades to get out of those bad times. But as a swing trader, obviously takes longer because you're taking less positions. However, I'm still confident. I'm still interested. I think it'll be a really good kind of learning curve for me personally and people watching, considering what happened last year, and hopefully it does the same this year. About that's kind of what trading is, right? It can be bad at times, and then you end up on plus 40, and you're thinking, well, actually, it was a really great year, and maybe I'll do the same thing this year. So let's see. But yeah, I have to agree. It's certainly been tough. It's certainly been tough. That's for sure. Right, S&P. So as we've seen, not many fundamental drivers this week. I think from a purely technical perspective, I still like where this is. I still like the weekly. I actually love the weekly. You know, coming down from this COVID drop to where we are, coming through here, head and shoulders. I like this price action. I like how we're pushing through. And I think this is a big key area. So whether we wait until next Wednesday, whether the market gets some optimism on account of that forecasted pause, and we break through this, what I believe is a significant barrier in this index, because we go from essentially taking it to a simplistic point of view, impulse corrective. Impulse, remember, indexes have been long. They've been long for 96 years. I don't see that changing at all. The blueprint doesn't change. I think this would be a really pivotal point in this market, and hopefully you guys, as with knowledge of the markets, have been investing at some points around here, or even down here when we're on a fall, because that's what you want to do. You want a dollar cost average. You want to keep investing your money into this index, or certainly a portion of your fund, because we don't know when you're going to get an opportunity like this again. You know, and I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that this is such a great opportunity to get into certain stocks, into indices at a good price, for a bit of a long-term investment. However, taking into account intraday where we are right now, I like this, right? We've obviously pushed up to this area, and we're just accumulating under it. So possibly that 20-period catch-up, waiting for a break above, taking away what's happening next week. I like this. You know, I like this. My bias is up. Yes, anything can happen. We can fall off if we have a rate hike next week, or you know, have some volatility. I don't want to predict what's going to happen. It's not really what traders really should do, rather than react rather than predict. But I like where this is. So maybe a few more days of consolidation. If we go down to our 4 hour, I actually don't mind where this is either. It could potentially be a trade for me next week if we get our third structure here, creating our head and shoulders, going with that overall trend. I've not put it on my watch list, but it's something that I may do next week if I get something that continues to set up. Possible even aggressive entry up in here for longs. But yeah, I like it. You know, my bias is up. I'm going to maintain that bias as I like where the index is. So S&P up for me. Maybe a few more days of consolidation. But overall bias at the moment is that it breaks through that area, as long as we keep accumulating. Okay, dollar I got massively wrong. It was looking relatively bullish. Although yesterday, Leon, you can account for this. I did say I was a little bit wary of it. So, yesterday was not a very good day. Okay, we can say that pretty specifically for the dollar. My overall bias going with that weekly was down. I was looking at shorts. Now, we could end up here with our weekly evening star, possibly creating our lower high. Now, remember that lower high is not confirmed until we break through the lows in terms of our Dow theory. But if you are inclined looking for dollar shorts, I don't mind this now. You know, we could be getting, you could say, are we going to get our possible ABC here continuation up? Yes. But, you know, we've got to take one or two scenarios, and this is certainly a negative bar. So seeing where we go from today in this dollar will be interesting. Do we start to come down? And again, like I said, go with that weekly trend. You know, you can say that is the path of least resistance. It is. So looking at dollar shorts, if you are that way inclined, I would say is not a bad idea today. I know I said yesterday, kind of looked like decent for dollar longs. Remember, it was here when we were looking at it, looking at this. If we break through there, that would look good. Now, we failed off that. So, you know, we have had a decent move yesterday. Maybe we need to digest that a little bit. So you could get some pullback action in the dollar. So maybe looking at these smaller time frames here, I would be wary if it broke underneath the lows right now, just in case you get that slight fake. But, you know, maybe looking at a reason to short it or a good area to short that dollar, I'm a bit more comfortable with. You know, certainly if you get some follow-up bearish action today, you know, I would like where it is. And I think in terms of you're ready to move, i.e. if you're looking at shorting the dollars, the potential of that, of it comes down. And remember, from a weekly standpoint, it's starting to look quite nice. You know, you've got your first structure here, you got your second structure here, getting possible third structure. Are we then going to take a big move to the downside? If the Fed pauses rates, I do think the dollar is in a little bit of trouble. And yeah, it might not be a bad area. So broken the lows here. I kind of like dollar shorts, I have to say. I kind of like dollar shorts. Okay, German 30, I'm in this position. Here it is. So we're kind of pausing here. Obviously entered on an aggressive entry from this V reversal, A, B, C, and on this particular OBE, outside bullish engulfer, coming on an uptick of volume. Very simple setup. Going with that overall bullish trend in the German 30. So nothing much complicated about that. I was just looking for a reason to enter. We've digested this decent move to the upside through that ABC. We've got our slight move into that retail stop locations, which I kind of like to see, and pushed on. Got our 220 as dynamic support to price. So I like where this is. You know, sometimes you do see with these decent moves, maybe it just needs a bit of time to digest it. We're getting that uptick in that 20 and looking for this to push on. So, again, it's not really moved much since I've entered, but London opening up in 20 or 19 minutes from now, I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of impetus, some kind of push in that market on London. And I have to say, it's not in a bad position to do so. I have actually potentially, although I think it's coming off a little bit now, I was looking for this to break relatively soon for a possible breakout retest in this chart. But because we're coming off a little bit, it's kind of ruined that pattern. So we're looking for that kind of squeeze. Because we've come off, I've kind of got to take that away now. So the German 30 will be off my my watch list here, as you can see, because of that slight move we're having now, which is okay. I'm still in it. I still don't mind it. This is not really worrying me at the moment with my entry, and I do like where it is. So London opening today, let's see. And I said, even with that, we've got all this dynamic support to price in the form of our MAs, and obviously we've got that overall trend. So I like that trade, and if I lose it, I lose it, but I would take it again 10 times out of 10, that's for sure. Okay, watch this, GJ. It's a shame GJ broke. I liked that yesterday, and it doesn't look like it's coming back. Unfortunately, I was looking for a breakout retest here in GJ, but we seem to be having some momentum right now, obviously on account of this structure here. Didn't quite get the accumulation that I needed. Maybe another 4, 8, 12 hours before I could have put my order in there. But depending on what this does, depending on how this 4-hour closes, I can't really see a retest of this area. And GJ looks like it's continuing its momentum up. So, you know, a lovely daily chart. Your trend continuation traders will be absolutely loving this. A very, very nice move to the upside. Nice price action, solid move. And going long in that, I absolutely like. So GJ longs, unfortunately not getting involved in. But, hey ho, that happens. That happens sometimes. German 30, I went through NZD CAD potential breakout retest as a counter trend idea. So NZD CAD, I've got my in here on the daily outside bullish engulfer. So that's my reason to enter. Ideally, I would have liked a little bit more volume coming into it, but ultimately there is a reason to enter there in form of that bullish engulfer. So we can see the setup on the hourly or 30. We've got our initial structure. Or U structure, cup structure, digesting that now. This is okay, I don't mind this wick. Looking for a breakout retest continuation. So the good thing about this is that 200 is kind of coming through. We've got that 20 come up. So if we do breakout and retest, we're hoping to get our catalyst, obviously on increased volume, around that 200, around that 20, potential old support, old resistance becoming new support. And play a little counter trend move to the upside on NZD CAD. I don't mind that, purely because of that daily. So I don't take a lot of counter trend moves, but this has some warrant into it. So NZD CAD potential longs. German 30, I can still look for a breakout as well, as long as it gets up to that area. So just to confirm what I'm looking at in terms of that. Remember, with my aggressive strategy, as soon as we break this zone, my stop moves to break even. Obviously, with the aggressive, we're trying to be aggressive with it and try and get the most RR as possible, which is why it has a slightly lower win rate. So we're looking for this to come up and do something like this, possibly accumulation, let that 20 patch up before we take a breakout. That's what I'll be looking for in terms of the German 30. The good thing about it is if I do get that, okay, let's say we come up here, created first structure, second structure, ABC, push on, maybe give us a third or possible accumulation, right? If I get triggered into my order, i.e. my buy stop in there, that's fine because my trade here immediately moves to break even. So I haven't had this yet because obviously my aggressive entry is a relatively new strategy. But if you get involved in one that does go, you've got 2 trades in it for effectively the price of 1. You're getting bog off because your first is obviously your aggressive entry is risk free. So looking for that in the German 30 would be very nice. Would be very nice. Euro yen, another one I've been watching for quite some time. The Euro yen longs. I still have my doubts over the weekly. I'm a little bit wary of this weekly. I wouldn't mind another bar 2 here before I look at longing it. Although I'm saying it still looks pretty nice. The daily is coming up and creating secondary structure from our V reversal here. This is good. So possibly looking at a bit of accumulation there before a break, or again similar to German 30, maybe a third structure, creating that squeeze into this zone, looking for a breakout with the yen possibly weakening off. Certainly if we move up in that S&P. So Euro yen, I do like it. I just need a little bit more. You know, I need a little bit more. It's the same with this 4 hour. So, you know, I wouldn't have minded someone taking a breakout on this 4 hour. I think it's in a good position at B wave. Obviously my favorite breaks are our breaks of B here. This is nice. You know, good structure here, nice accumulation. I like seeing bars like this prior to a break, you know, that bar that really stands out. And it indeed has potentially, this is not closed yet, but it indeed has broken through that zone. So I wouldn't discount this getting up to that top area up here. I do think price action is nice, but it's maybe one that I'd like to see next week. So I don't want this to break this week. I'd like to see probably middle maybe even getting your, because it's a daily trade, even getting your order around that Wednesday, around that Fed. So if we get some positivity coming in, you're involved on a potential spike or weakening off in that yen, right? On that break, if indeed it does go. So that's what I wouldn't mind. I'm going to wait for euro yen for next week. Something like this would be ideal for me. But I like it. I do like it. Euro yen potential longs. Kiwi Swiss and Bitcoin is my last two. Kiwi Swiss and Bitcoin. So Kiwi Swiss had a really nice bar yesterday from a daily perspective. Again, going with that overall trend, possibly a decent hedge play. But our bar yesterday didn't quite come on where I wanted it to come. So if I got this, now we didn't have the volume signature. I would have needed a little bit more volume for my aggressive entry. But if we had got this up around here, right, I would have taken that for sure. Right, that is an aggressive entry for me all day. A perfect catalyst, again, if it had the volume. But it didn't get that. So we're looking at this coming down and doing something similar to euro yen. We need that 20 period catch up, that golden 20, digesting that move to the downside for a breakdown on Kiwi Swiss. Do I think this comes because I'm expecting positivity next week? Maybe not. But then saying that, the risk sentiment, and the reason why I analyze the S&P is obviously for the risk sentiment, risk on, risk off. Has that been playing out for the first 5 months? Not really. And also, the important thing to note is within my strategy, one of my checklists is, or this is the bad way I've gone the opposite way of saying it, but I don't have my risk sentiment involved in my strategy, if that makes sense. So as a risk on, risk off, if it's risk on, if I still get the setup on Kiwi Swiss short, i.e. which fundamentally in terms of a risk on sentiment, I shouldn't be shorting Kiwi Swiss, it doesn't matter to me, right? So as long as I get the entry on my criteria, then that's fine. So let's see what this does. We've created our first structure, which is nice. Looking again, essentially that 20 period catch up. Need some digestion, need that 30 to 50% rule to get a potential break to the downside on Kiwi Swiss. And, going with overall trend, right? Going with that. Simple. The trend is your friend. You do that most of the time. Pretty sure you'll find an edge doing it. And finally, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is something I do want to be involved in as well. I do want to be involved in Bitcoin, mainly because of this weekly. I really like where this weekly is, and certainly if we close relatively bullish here. So we've broken structure. I know it's counter trend. Oh, well, actually, it's not really counter trend now because I think you've broken structure here. So there's a debate on whether somebody wants to say, well, are we just pulling back from this initial impulse? That, again, is valid. It's a game of opinions in trading, but I wouldn't go as far to say this is trend continuation, but I say there's validation here that potentially we're out of this slump in Bitcoin and we're potentially starting to move up as looks like with the S&P, right? So I love this weekly price action. We're back to the 20 and we look like we're creating that hammer. It's perfect for me, perfect. So the concept of is it ready to move, i.e. the potential of getting this right, is quite large. So if we do have an impulse and we start moving from this downtrend back to an uptrend, up to those potential highs in Bitcoin, obviously we're not going to be involved in it that much. Well, you'd expect not if you get in a long position now. Looks pretty good. So for our perspective, we created our V reversal. V reversal here, we're looking to create secondary structure. This needs to kind of come up soon. We want this to come up or start pushing and getting some bullish price action today or tomorrow to create that secondary structure. And probably needing a third. Again, looking into that squeeze. We need this 200 just to continue starting to come down so that our break, if we do get this, something like this, let's say, is above that 200. I can't take a break when that 200 is in the way of my 2-to-1 risk reward. Too much of an area of dynamic resistance to price. So I'd rather be on the right side of it rather than the wrong side of it. But I do really like this. I do really like this. It's something I definitely do want to be involved in and looking at a potential long and possible change of overall trend in Bitcoin. I mean, you look at it like this and you just say, right, we're just in this channel corrective. if we do push, and again, we never know what's going to happen with any kind of currency pair, but the way that I look at it is, if I'm right, can I be really right? That's the premise with all my trades. I mean, we go with the German 30, right? If I'm right, can I be really right? Yeah, absolutely. You know, from a 4-hour perspective, or let's even look at the daily, right? Obviously on that uptrend, okay, we're looking at this ABC corrective and breaking out a B wave here. So if I'm right, you know, we're looking for that impulse. That's what we're looking for, where you make your big money. And it's the same with Bitcoin. If you're right, but you're not always going to be, obviously. But that's where my personal edge comes from. And that's what I try to do with every trade. Get on a potential trade that can really move, rather than, you know, getting involved at the top of an uptrend or somewhere up here where you're thinking, well, are we almost coming to an end of it? So that's my idea, which is obviously why trades don't come around too often, but that's okay. It allows me to risk a little bit more on those trades. So in terms of today, GJ I think is probably gone. German 30 probably gone. NZD CAD could potentially be there if we do break out, and all of these I still really like. So let's see what happens. I'm starting to like Euro Yen a lot. You know, I really like that. It's probably my pick of the breakouts. Bitcoin I do really like as well. But if I don't get any, that's fine. I'm happy being in the position I am. And hopefully in 6 minutes, when London gets some, you know, London grabs their coffee and starts going at it, we can see some pressure. But again, we may not. We might not. Let's see. Aussie Yen 30 minutes, my best setup for today. Can you look at it? Aussie Yen. Yeah, I had that. I don't mind that. My issue with it, Silver, was the 4-hour. That's why I didn't put it on. I just worry about impulse, loss of momentum. But if you're getting that push through now, maybe that's negated, because I worry about harder reset continuation. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I can see what you're looking at. I did have it. I like the daily. If you zoom out, I like the daily. So yeah, I don't mind that one at all, Silver. I just didn't put on my list just purely because of that 4-hour. But don't mind that at all. I mean, it's broken through, right? See if it retests. Looks pretty nice. You know, and also, it didn't quite fit my 30-50 rule. But again, that's just me. I think in terms of you're looking at Aussie Yen long, yeah, like that all day. Like that all day. So, you know, remember, everyone sees it in a different way. But in terms of your bias, yeah, absolutely like that. Absolutely. I'm not gonna pin. Again, it doesn't fit my criteria purely because of that 4-hour. But I'm not gonna sit there and say I don't like Aussie Yen long at all. The same with like Euro. You know, it's the same with these things like Euro Pound, right? You know, it was. You know, even though I couldn't get involved in this because it didn't quite fit, I really liked it. You know, I liked it short. So I'm looking at Euro Pound short. Brilliant. The same with Euro CAD. One that I didn't quite. This has been the story of my year. You know, the ones that didn't quite set up. And yes, okay, it makes you think like, am I doing something? Should I modify something slightly? You know, in terms of this retest. You know, these things have not been involved in the Euro Pounds year that have gone. And yes, okay, you can look at the other side where you say, well, there's loads of trades that I didn't take, right? That would have lost. So we always seem to forget about that as traders when we're going through a bad time, that there's loads of trades that I didn't take, which I probably would have taken a few years ago, that would have lost. So yeah, you always stick out these ones that fit your analysis and went through, but you didn't quite get in on. But you forget about the other side of things, of ones that you weren't really comfortable with, that you would have lost money. Euro Pound here could potentially be on for something, by the way. Love where this is on the daily. Love where this is on the weekly. Maybe getting some resistance here, which would be good for that potential daily breakout. Right? Or 4-hour. Confusing myself. Yeah, 4-hour here. But that's got a little bit to go, I think. It's got a bit to go. Makes sense, yeah. Don't mind it, so don't mind that at all. So let's see what we got on yeah. Nothing much I can do. I can't modify this. This is in. I do not touch it because that's what my statistics say. Even if it looks like it's coming down, I cannot touch it. And we'll see how it goes. Right, anything else? Any questions? Anything you guys want me to look at before I head off? It's Friday today, right? I was thinking it's Thursday for some reason. Friday today, yeah. You're watching Euro Pound, but no retest. I guess around there, right? Yeah, I like Euro Pound. Wonder what would happen if I went in with like a demo account and go and kind of trade on feel. You know what I mean? So again, this would just be for a purely purely fun instinct. Like for example, I would have sold Euro Pound there on feel, right there. Same with Euro CAD. I probably would just take but again, you always remember these ones. You don't remember how it. I don't think you could trade that way, not over a long period of time anyway. But it'd be interesting to see. What's also interesting is if I go back to this is my Aussie test scalping, right? So over London yesterday, over London, I didn't actually test it. Only for testing silver. Yeah, I don't think it would work in the real world with the emotional side of it. I have to remember that. It's the biggest thing. So as it was here, and for anyone who doesn't know, I'm testing out a 1 minute AU strategy here. So you could have had, I think, really from here, I could have been looking at longs and AU. This is higher time frame confluence, and now over London, I can be looking at longs coming out of here. So let's have a look at the 1 minute actually. See if I can explain this strategy pretty well. So there with the 50, I wouldn't have gotten in, right? Didn't quite tag it. So I would be looking, I'm looking longs. I'm pretty comfortable with that position, looking long. With this latest impulse, you know, you wouldn't have got it there. I don't think I would have taken that one. So if this pushes on, I'm going to look at this actually. If this pushes on from here and we create an impulse, right, I'm going to start going in and testing again. You know, an order in for the 50 again, looking at longs in AU. That's essentially what I do, right? So we're looking at these 1 minutes because I'm happy with the direction now, right? I'm happy with my higher time frames. I like where they're at. You know, how do I get involved in it? And that would potentially be on it, but it needs to impulse here. If it comes back down, then okay, I'm still happy with the overall long direction, but it would need to do something. If it did do something like this, then on this impulse, I could look to get involved in it on the 50%, right? If that makes sense. So again, this is completely new, and I'm using my I'm using a $1 million. I'm using $1 million. Let me move this for a second. $1 million demo account just for fun. Where is it? Here. Here for this test essentially. So I need to go into AU. So you can see here 996 because that was obviously the first trade, which I didn't account for commissions with. But let's see what happens with this. I'm doing the TJS with as well, but it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, as I said, as I go on and I continue with this, I'll just let you guys know what my thoughts are. Do not trade this. Okay, I do not know if it works. It's just a bit of fun to potentially allow me to possibly trade a wee bit more, which on some days I would like to. Right, guys, any more questions? Anything else? Let me know. If not, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I know, Silver. I was so close to breaking 80 yesterday. I hit an 80. Obviously, I've never hit 79. I hit an 80 yesterday. It's just not coming. It's just not coming. But yeah, but you're certainly right. I do need more golf. That's for sure. Right, guys, have a great weekend. Trade safe. Next week is a big one. Big week fundamentally. Obviously, nothing coming up today. I'm not expecting that much. But let's see what happens. Right, guys, trade safe. Peace.